Milky Way galaxy. A vast cosmic city of 200 billion stars. We live in a quiet neighborhood, tucked away in a safe neck of the woods. But what if we could take our planet on a journey across the galaxy? From the violent graveyards where stars billions of years old go to die, to the cosmic cradles where new stars burst to life. Dare to travel through billions of years of space and time to find stars that lived billions of years ago. Out here, we'll get a glimpse of the future. But before our trip can begin, we need a map of where we're headed.
We're part of a giant disk of stars.
We don't see the whole reach of the Milky Way.
What astronomers really need is a bird's eye view.
You would need to get out of the Milky Way to really see what it looks like.
I'm very interested in what NASA plans to do about colonizing Mars because I think people will be able to live on the planet Mars in my lifetime. I would like to find out what NASA's plans to do with new advanced technologies for exploring Mars more closely and possibly sending humans to explore Mars. I care about this topic, about space exploration, because future exploration to Mars could help mankind to find new resources, like new energy sources, or a new place for humans to inhabit. I am also concerned that there could be negative consequences due to the large cost of this project. Despite my concerns, however, NASA should travel and colonize Mars. NASA has been doing an immense amount of research about the planet, how the human body is affected, how we get to Mars, how we set up a colony, and what the risks and budget problems are. NASA is taking this project slowly because they want to get it right the first time. This seems that when this project happens, NASA will be well prepared and equipped for this mission. Can NASA set up colonies on the planet Mars? If they can set up colonies, will they use Mars as a refuge planet in case extreme disasters occur on Earth? Or will NASA use Mars as another home for the human race? While answering this question, should NASA colonize Mars, I want to also discover how the planets of Mars and Earth are alike, and how the planets are different. With all of this exploration, I want to find out if NASA would have the budget to travel to Mars as well as colonize Mars. NASA's budget has shrunk over the past several years. I want to find out the true cost for further exploration to Mars and whether or not the United States will be able to support this in their budget, or could be possible if the world came together and all worked as one to continue space exploration. The most important things I want to discover are, will this improve mankind or will it make it worse? Will the colonization of Mars create new resources or create new conflicts? The main focus on whether or not NASA should colonize Mars is Mars itself. Colonizing Mars is like England colonizing the New World or North America. You are entering a whole new world. You have new challenges to overcome. There are monetary or budget challenges as well as challenges for logistically getting people to Mars. Mars is millions of miles away from Earth. Even though they are far away, they share similar properties as well as some differences. Mars and Earth both share similar seasons and day lengths, but have some major differences like temperature and gravity differences. As stated before, Earth and Mars share some common properties. Just like Earth, Mars' days is about 24 hours. If NASA were to colonize, humans could remain on the same sleep schedule. This can result in better transition for the humans to colonize Mars. Also, Earth and Mars both have the seasons of spring, summer, fall, and winter. This is another example of how it will make the transfer from Earth to Mars easier for people. The major similarity of Earth and Mars is both planets have water on their surfaces. Although Mars' water is frozen, it still will be essential for human life. Although Mars and Earth have some similarities, there are some major differences between Earth and Mars. According to NASA, Mars is about half the size of the Earth, but has the same area of landmass. If NASA were to colonize Mars on an extreme level, NASA would have the same amount of land area to do so. Another major difference between Mars and Earth is what their atmosphere contains. Earth's atmosphere contains nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and oxygen, while Mars's atmosphere contains carbon dioxide and trace of water vapor, according to NASA. The changes of atmosphere in Mars could cause the inhabitants to have to wear a spacesuit any time they step outside of a space shuttle or base on Mars. Humans will also need a spacesuit on Mars' surface because of the temperature difference. You cannot walk into Mars' surface with shorts and a t-shirt. You will need your spacesuit. Mars has an average surface temperature of negative 83 degrees Celsius, while Earth has an average of 53 degrees Celsius, according to NASA. The last main difference is that Mars takes about half as long to orbit around the Sun. With a longer orbit around the Sun, Mars' seasons are longer, resulting in a long, brutal winter. In the winter, it will drop drastically and stay cold for a long period of time. As NASA learns more about Mars and its characteristics and properties, they need to know how humans will be affected by long-term space travel. That is why NASA is doing the Twin Study. The Twin Study is a study to determine the effects of the human biology after a year in space. NASA calls it the Twin Study because twins Scott and Mark Kelly will be used as the experiments. One will remain on Earth, while the other one is in space. According to Craig Kundrat of NASA's Human Research Program, we will be taking samples and making measurements of the twins before, during, and after the one-year mission. For the first time, we'll be able to study two individuals who are genetically identical. NASA will be doing a series of tests before, during, and after to see how humans are affected by long-term space travel. Scientist Craig Kundrat stated in an article of the Smithsonian, "The horizon destination is Mars." NASA has their eyes set on traveling and colonizing Mars. According to Craig Kundrat, the weightlessness, the radiation, the isolation, and confinement, there are a number of things that are really affecting the space traveler. Through the Twin Study, NASA will have the opportunity to test many variables. This will help ensure that others that travel can be safe. NASA will be testing the twin brother thoroughly to see how everything is affected, and they will even test urine samples. NASA doesn't want to take any easy approach on the trip to Mars. NASA wants to know what humans will endure on Mars to ensure it will be a safe place to colonize. This proves that NASA is willing to take every precaution to guarantee that the trip to Mars is safe and possible for humans. While NASA currently is learning more about the planet of Mars and learning how long-time travel will affect the human body, NASA has also developed what they think will transport humans to Mars. They have developed a space shuttle called the Orion. NASA is hoping that the Orion is what will take humans to Mars and maybe further planets. The Orion has already gone on an unnamed test flight in December 2014.
Bridge 2 secure at flight level.
35. 30.
Status check.
Go Delta.
Go Orion. Green board.
25.
Flight lock-in.
20.
T-minus 20 seconds.
15.
Rofi ignition.
10.
The igniters have been lit.
9. 8. 7. 6.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff at dawn. The dawn of Orion and a new era of American space exploration.
Good engine control in the first stage. Passing 25 seconds. Velocity 1,341 feet per second.
This was a very successful flight according to NASA. NASA has already developed a shuttle capable of taking humans to Mars. According to NASA, the Orion is one stepping stone to getting to the red planet. This means when all the pieces come together, humans will be able to get to Mars. The Orion had 12,000 sensors on board during the 4.5-hour flight to collect data. NASA again wants to test and measure everything that is happening on board the Orion. In an article on space.com, a NASA official said, "It's important it's unmanned because we actually structured the test to fly the riskiest pieces of the flight. This is the time to do it, when it's unmanned. We intend to stress the systems and make sure they behave as we design them to. It is a test flight, and it's set up to be a risky flight." NASA is pushing the Orion system to ensure that it will be safe for a manned crew aboard. The Orion is much like the Apollo and is able to carry more than one astronaut aboard. This allows NASA to bring 3 or more astronauts to Mars to help colonize and study its surface. The Orion can withstand 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit when re-entering Earth's atmosphere. This ensures that the Orion can withstand entering Mars' atmosphere when astronauts come to visit Mars. Even though the Orion had a successful unmanned test flight back in 2014 December, the Orion will go through another unmanned test flight in 2018 to ensure it is ready for a manned crew. NASA hopes to have a manned crew on board the Orion by 2021 according to Space.com. NASA assumes after all the research and testing has been completed, they can have a manned crew on board the Orion and fly to Mars by 2030. NASA is clearly determined to get astronauts to the surface of Mars. This also shows they have the capability to bring people there to colonize Mars. After NASA has figured out what happens on Mars, how humans will be affected for the long trip to Mars, and how we will get there, NASA needs to figure out how to establish a settlement on Mars. Mars One, a non-profit organization, has developed a way that will establish a permanent settlement on Mars. According to Mars One, they want to send a satellite to Mars to establish communication to Earth. According to Mars One, they will make many living on Mars similar to Earth. The organization states, "Within the settlement are inflatable components which contain bedrooms, working areas, a living room, and a plant production unit where they will grow greenery. They will also be able to shower as normal, prepare fresh food that they themselves grew and harvested in the kitchen, wear regular clothes, and, in essence, lead typical day-to-day lives." People that travel to Mars will have a more comfortable and easier transition to life on Mars. Mars One has plans to set greenery stations up to provide food for the residents and plans to send supply shipments every 26 months. A big change of life for the people that live on Mars is the way they exercise. Because Mars does not have the amount of gravity pushing down on objects as Earth does. With NASA and Mars One's plan for Mars, we should travel and colonize Mars. NASA has been doing extensive research on the planet as well as the effects that space has on the human body. Despite budget cuts and NASA not having a manned crew on board a shuttle traveling beyond the Earth since the moon landing, they should colonize Mars. Colonizing Mars can bring new resources to humans and provide a new home. I know this mission of colonizing Mars will be beneficial to mankind. This amazing mission will bring us humans together as we take another giant leap.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
We are doing exactly that. We are choosing to travel and colonize Mars, not because it is easy, but because it is hard.